Do you love the idea of shopping at a farmer's market? Maybe you have this vision of filling your bag and ultimately your kitchen with all the fresh fruits and veggies and even a bouquet of fresh flowers. But when you actually show up at the market, you have absolutely no idea where to start, what to buy, let alone what to do with it when you get it home. Today, we're diving into the top picks at a farmer's market that will help keep your health on track and your meals delicious. Get ready to become a farmer's market pro. Let's get started. And my friend, if you want a more personalized approach to creating your MS diet and lifestyle, check out my private coaching program. It includes a comprehensive assessment, personalized strategies, and lifestyle support. Each month, I accept only 3 new clients. So if you are interested, apply at alenebrennan.com/coach. Now on to today's episode. There are 1 million people diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in the US. So that makes you 1 in a million. And you have a special purpose in this world that no diagnosis can take away from you. So if you are ready to reclaim your body, mind, and life from multiple sclerosis, welcome to my MS podcast. I'm your host, Alene Brennan. Hello, my friend. Welcome back for another episode of my MS podcast, season 5. If you are just joining us, welcome. This season is all about summertime. So we know summertime tends to be that one that's associated with all of the fun, getting outside, enjoying all of the outdoor activities, which to the average person, yes, is amazing. But if you are living with MS or another autoimmune disease, summertime can actually be stressful. It can be really hard because we can be easily triggered by the heat, and that can prompt the fatigue to get worse and just have us hesitant to go outside and participate in all the activities that we used to absolutely love. So season 5 is filled with all of the strategies and tips and hacks on how to still enjoy summer while protecting your health. Last episode, we talked about navigating barbecues on the Wahls protocol. And today we're going to shift over to one of my other favorite summer food activities, I'll say, which is visiting farmers markets. Now, I live in New Jersey and we are known as the Garden State. So we have a lot of farmers markets down here. I mean, if you go further south in New Jersey, it's like farmland all over the place. I'm not quite that south, but there are a lot of like local smaller farms in the area. So when you're driving through the different towns, you often see little smaller roadside stands that just have the produce that the farmers have literally just picked. And it's one of my favorite things about living in New Jersey. So farmers markets are something that I certainly have been familiar with. Even from an early age, I would go with my mom. We'd pick up some local corn on the cob or the Jersey tomatoes or peaches, some flowers. We were always getting those good, fresh fruits and veggies from the local farmers. But it wasn't until later in life when I started studying nutrition in college, and then beyond that, doing all of the other trainings and certifications that I've done with functional nutrition, culinary nutrition, even a chef training program. The more that I learned about food and nutrition, the more I realized what a gem it is to be getting our foods directly from the hands of the farmers that are harvesting it. And you can taste the difference. You 1000% can taste the difference when you are getting something fresh from a farmer's market versus the grocery store. And you might not love hearing this next bit of this next story, but the truth is there is a real reason why you can taste such a difference from fruit that you're getting at the grocery store versus fruit that you're getting at a local farmer stand. So one of the things that I learned in my nutrition and culinary training is that the foods that are at the grocery store have not been recently picked from farms. I knew that. I knew that they were kind of coming from bigger, I'll say factory farms, but I didn't know the length of time that was altered from when a apple, for example, is picked to when it makes its way to your grocery store and then your kitchen. I always thought, okay, it's produce, so it's picked like just before or just as it's ripened, and then it's shipped to the grocery store, it's sold, I bring it into my house and we eat it. My friends, that's not the case. I was shocked to learn that the produce is often picked just before it's ripened, and then it's put in like, I don't know if it's like these crates or these carts, whatever it is, and there's a gas that's put in them to stop them from further ripening. And then they're shipped wherever they're shipped and stored and all these different things. And then just before they hit the grocery store, that's when they put a different gas in that's going to accelerate the ripening, so that by the time it reaches the grocery store, when the shoppers are coming through, it's a perfectly ripened fruit or apple or like whatever it is. That process could be weeks, could be months. I've heard that it could even be up to years, which is like something I literally can't wrap my head around. Like that concept, I'm like, well, where does it sit for years? Like I can't picture like this warehouse of fruit that's just sitting there, not yet ripened and waiting to be going to the grocery stores. But either way, the point is, the fruit from the grocery store is not just picked and then brought right from the farm to the grocery store to your kitchen. Now, I'm not trying to create a negative association with produce at the grocery store, because the bottom line is we need to be getting more fruits and veggies into our diet. So if that is your only source, I realize not everybody has farmers markets around. If that's your only source, you get the best quality there. Get organic what you can, choose conventional for what you can't. On that note, actually, the Dirty Dozen is going to be really helpful. The Dirty Dozen is, if you're not familiar with it, it's developed from an organization called EWG.org, the Environmental Working Group. And every year they put out a list of the top 12 foods that are quote unquote like the dirtiest produce. And just by nature in which how they are grown, they require more pesticides, herbicides, like all of the sprays. So those are the foods that you want to take a look at. And there's a new list every year because the farming practices shift year to year. So if you look up Dirty Dozen 2024, I'm like, wait a minute, what year are we in? That will have the list of the top 12 foods, 12 dirtiest foods. So you want to look at that and identify, of the foods that are on that list, what do you eat the most often, and choose those to be organic. And then look at what is on the Clean 15. That's the list of the top 15 cleanest foods that by nature in which how they are grown, they don't require a lot of sprays. So they are going to be naturally cleaner options. So for those, you don't have to worry as much about getting organic. You can just get the conventional ones. So that's just a different way to navigate the quality that is within your grocery store. But I'm also encouraging you, if you have a local farmers market, try to get some food there as well, because they have fantastic options. Again, you will taste the difference. So when I think of like the top reasons to go to farmers markets, fresh produce is definitely top of that list. You are getting the food that was picked literally hours before you buy it. And it was picked by the hands of the farmers that grow it and then are coming to sell it to you. You can literally see the dirt under their fingernails. And one of my favorite things to do when I go to a farmer's market is to talk to the farmers and hear their stories and learn about their farming practices. There's so much pride that they have in their farm and the produce that they bring to these markets. It's such an incredible conversation. If you ever take the time to do it, it is so worth it. So you're definitely getting fresh produce. And then of course you're supporting the local farmers. But then beyond that, you're also getting an opportunity to discover new foods that you might be either overlooking in your grocery store, because if you haven't realized it, you most likely go through the grocery store in the same exact pattern week after week. You go down the same aisles, the same directions, you bypass certain things, you like make a beeline towards other things. But that is your brain's filtering system. them. So it's just by the nature of which our brain works, it filters out things that are not relevant to us and draws our attention to things that it knows is important to us. So it knows that every time I go in the grocery store, I like to get my leafy greens. So my eye is going to catch those leafy greens first. It's going to bypass something like, I don't know, a pomegranate that I very rarely buy, but then it knows that I buy bananas. So it's spotting them. It is filtering out the things that I don't typically buy and therefore aren't relevant to me, but it is calling my eye's attention to all of the things that I do typically buy. So you can be walking past foods in your grocery store that have been there all along, but you just don't see them. So going to a farmer's market does give you an opportunity to have a fresh experience from that perspective. You're seeing things completely new. But in addition to that, they may also have foods that aren't at your grocery store. So you're getting an opportunity to explore some things. And the beauty of getting it from a farmer's market is you're buying it directly from the farmer, as I said, but you get to have a conversation with them about asking them, how would I cut this? How would I prepare this? What is the best way to season this? They love talking about that. They love talking about that because food is a form of art to them. And when they can pass that along to somebody who is so appreciative and curious about that, it is a gift to them. So you learn not only about new foods, but you learn how to prepare it better. So there are lots of benefits of going to the farmers markets. But that said, I also realize that despite all these benefits, it can still feel overwhelming. And I experienced this myself. I mean, yes, I went when I was a kid. Like I said, I would go with my mom and we would get the Jersey tomatoes and corn and peaches and all of the things, the blueberries, all of it. And pick up the fresh bouquet of flowers while we were there too. But that was a different experience because I was just tagging along with mom. When I started going, when I was shopping when I was doing my own grocery shopping, that was a completely different experience because then it was on me to try to figure out how to store it, how to prepare it, and how to season it all. Because if I'm buying it, I want to make sure that I am taking proper care of it so that it lasts, but then also when I'm making it, that it actually tastes good. So if you feel this way too, if you are feeling a little overwhelmed with farmers markets, trying to figure out, like I said, how to store, prepare, season all these foods so that they not only don't go bad just sitting in your fridge, but they actually taste good when they make it to your kitchen table, I totally get it. I totally get it. That is where I first started. And this only heightened when I started the Wahls protocol and trying to figure out how I was going to get 9 cups of vegetables in every single day. I mean, really? 9 cups? How many salads can a girl eat? How many smoothies am I going to have to gulp down? Now, I've been on the protocol for 8 years now, and I have figured out a lot of strategies and ways to make this manageable and tasty, but it was overwhelming at first. So that is one of the things that I think I'm so passionate about when talking about the Wahls protocol. First is not putting the pressure on yourself to make this a big transformation all at once. Like if you are just starting the Wahls protocol, or maybe you fell off the bandwagon, you're trying to get back on, don't wait for this moment that is going to have a big transformation for you. You are going to be far more successful if you just take one step at a time. In other words, if right now you realize that you aren't getting enough vegetables in, one of the things that I do with my one-on-one clients is say, okay, great. How many vegetables are you getting in right now? And the response sometimes is crickets. Like, I don't think I'm getting any vegetables in consistently. Okay, so what one can we start with? Just start with one serving and then figure out what are some of the ways that you like to have vegetables. So oftentimes people say like, well, I don't mind having a side salad at dinner, or I love roasted vegetables. Like to me, roasting up some Brussels sprouts, adding a little bacon in there. That's one of my favorite ways to get some sulfur-rich vegetables in. Great. Start there. Start small, because that feels far more attainable. And from how your brain works with starting new habits and staying consistent, if it sees that a goal is within reach, it is far more likely to make it happen. If something feels too far out of your reach, your brain struggles to make it happen. So again, don't wait for this big transformational moment. Just start. Start today. And yeah, it might feel a little anticlimactic because you're like, well, I kind of envisioned myself doing this major kitchen overhaul or pantry clean out. Those are fun. Yeah, they're exciting, but they're not what gets you the long-term results. What gets you the long-term results is going to the grocery store or the farmer's market and getting just one new vegetable, one more salad a day, one new thing. Start there. Can you tell this is a topic that I get passionate about? It's because I know that the protocol works. It does. I've seen it in myself, and I've seen it with so many of the clients that I work with one-on-one, as well as the clients that I work with in my group coaching program. I've seen it time and time again. People come back and they're like, Alene, I can't believe the difference that I'm feeling with my energy. I didn't know how bad I was feeling until I felt this good. Or sometimes people will come back and they're like, I didn't realize how gassy and bloated I was until it all went away. And now it's so much nicer to feel this way. I'm going to the bathroom easier. Again, I'm not as gassy or bloated or whatever it is. So I know the benefits of it, but I also know the overwhelm of it, because it is a list of really strict, rigid rules. And that is why one of my greatest passions and missions with the work that I do in my coaching program is to help make it more realistic, more doable, and more personalized to you, so that this is something that you are able to maintain. Because the reality is MS and autoimmune disease, they are around for the long haul. It's a chronic illness. So you need a plan for the long haul. You can't just have a quick 7-day or 30-day blip of a diet. That's not gonna do it for you. You need something that is going to be sustainable, that you can maintain time and time again. And that's why I think it's so helpful to find some breathing room for you so that you can get started and build from one step at a time. Okay, so let's talk about what some of those top foods are to get at the farmers markets. The first, leafy greens. I feel like you can never have enough leafy greens on the Wahls protocol. And if there's one food that I hear from my clients say that they feel the most benefits from, it's leafy greens. Like I was just saying, clients come back, and I was referencing specifically the leafy greens here, that they'll come back and they're like, Alene, I notice such a difference in my energy when I'm more consistent with the leafy greens. It's actually kind of annoying. They're slightly annoyed by it because they're like, oh, I actually found something that can help. And it's something that is very easily accessible. I can buy it right at the grocery store. But did it have to come in the form of leafy greens? Couldn't it have come in the form of candy or something like that? Sorry, it didn't. However, those leafy greens, they make a difference. They can definitely help to boost your energy. Leafy greens are rich in vitamin A and C and K, as well as folate and magnesium. And these nutrients support mitochondrial function, energy production, and immune health overall. So we want to stock up on those leafy greens, and you can get them. The farmers markets will most often they'll have kale. And even within that leafy green, there's so many different variations of kale. There's purple kale, there's Tuscan kale, there's curly kale, there's all the different versions. So you'll be able to see more variety there. They also have arugula, spring mix, spinach. You're going to get a lot of different varieties there. And generally speaking, the darker the green, the darker the color of the leafy green, the more nutrient dense it is, but also the more bitter it tends to be. So again, you don't have to go to the extreme and get kale the first time that you're there. Maybe if you want to try some kale chips or something, but just start with something that you're familiar with. Start with a spring mix, start with arugula, start with something that feels appealing to you. And when you bring it home, one of the ways to help store it best is to put a paper towel in either the bag or the carton that it came in and shake it up a little bit and then put it in the fridge. That helps to manage the moisture content in there. So what I do, like I said, anytime I come home, I put that paper towel in the container, and then anytime I use it, I will take whatever portion out that I want, leave the paper towel in, and shake it up again. So I'm just constantly rotating it. And then in making any leafy greens, I mean, there's a lot that you can do with them. You can put them, like I said, in smoothies or salads. I did mention the kale. If you wanted to try that, you can do kale chips. Or another option with trying kale, you can just massage it a little bit with some olive oil, lemon juice, and maybe like a little salt and pepper. That's a great way to add it in for salads. Or you can just saute some either kale or spinach up as a side dish for dinner. One of my actual personal favorite ways to have kale, which I haven't done in a while, so maybe I'm going to do this now that I'm talking about it, is cooking it with a can of crushed tomatoes. And depending upon how much tomatoes you put in there, it will really help it can actually become more like a tomato sauce. So if you do gluten-free pasta, you could put it on top of that, or you could put it on top of any type of protein. So yeah, that's kind of a fun way to make it. And then like just seasoning it, just do a little simple garlic, salt, pepper. Doesn't need to be fancy, but yeah, those leafy greens, they are phenomenal for our mitochondrial function, i.e. helping us have more energy. So next time you're at the grocery store or the farmer's market, pick up some leafy greens. Farmers markets are also great for the cruciferous vegetables. The broccoli, the cauliflower, the Brussels sprouts, those are all fantastic, not only fantastic vegetables, but they are fantastic if you are cutting back on some of your other carbs, because I feel like they're a little bit more of a weightier vegetable, especially the Brussels sprouts. Like they just kind of feel like you're getting something to bite into. So they're really nice. And of course, like roasting them is a fantastic way to serve them up. You can just put a little bit of fat on them, whatever you do. I tend to do coconut oil, or if you do ghee, you could do that. I tend not to recommend olive oil for roasting, just because roasting you tend to do at a higher temperature. And there is a smoke point that you don't want to exceed with olive oil, because then it can make the oil rancid. So I don't recommend roasting with olive oil, but like I said, you could do coconut oil or ghee. Both of them would be some good alternatives. But yeah, those cruciferous vegetables, these are basically those sulfur-rich vegetables that we hear about with the Wahls protocol. And those sulfur-rich vegetables support our detoxification pathways and help to reduce inflammation. They're also high in fiber, which is fantastic for gut health. So there's lots of delicious ways to make them. There are a ton of great health benefits to them. You know, like I said, from the detoxification standpoint, we often think that we have to have like this crazy supplement or a juice detox. Like we think the detox has to be so extreme, but here your body is designed to naturally detoxify itself. There is a natural detoxification process that happens in your body. The problem is we just often get too overwhelmed with the amount of toxins that we are exposed to, because we were never intended to be exposed to the number of toxins that we are on a daily basis. But beyond that, we tend not to, in the standard American diet, get enough vegetables in, certainly enough sulfur-rich vegetables in, to support the detoxification process. So that is a fantastic way, or that's a fantastic reason to get more of those cruciferous vegetables or those sulfur-rich vegetables in. Berries are also another great find at the farmers markets. The blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, they're all super rich in antioxidants, which help to reduce inflammation in the body. One of the primary goals that we are focused on when managing an autoimmune disease. And one of the things what's interesting is that when I started shopping at farmers markets, I started to become more aware of the length of time that a fruit or vegetable is actually in season. Because when we go to the grocery store, we see the same foods year round. That is not how the harvest is. In nature, there are 3 harvests a year. It's spring, summer, and fall. And traditionally, once a season is done and over with, you never were able to get those foods again until the following year. It is only in modern day grocery stores that we have any food, any produce year round. That's not consistent with nature. So when I first started going to the farmer's market, I realized how short strawberry season is. I'm like, I feel like that's like a blip on the radar here. I feel like it was like less than a month. Like it was super, super short. But during that time, those strawberries were incredible. They were such a bright, like red, vivid color. They were so juicy, so flavorful. And then of course the blueberries. I mean, I feel like I want to say that Hamilton, New Jersey, which is not too far from me, is the blueberry capital of the, I want to say world. That might, I don't know. Don't hold me to that. But I'm pretty certain that there's some fact about the amount of blueberries that come out of New Jersey. And they are fantastic. They are delicious. So, and I didn't realize that until I started going to the farmers markets, because I thought just blueberries are blueberries. So the ones that I buy in the grocery store are the same ones that I buy from the farmers market. Oh, how I was wrong. So if you haven't tried some berries from the local farmers markets, definitely put that on top of your list. And you can have them as snacks. You can add them to salads. And of course, you can add them to smoothies. I tend not to add the fresh berries into smoothies just because the frozen ones are cheaper. And I don't notice that much of a difference when I'm putting it into a smoothie. But if I'm having it as a snack, that's where I'm going to prioritize the fresh ones. And then I do love adding fruit into salads, especially in the summertime. It's just a really nice way to kind of freshen and vary up the salads there. And as I said, the berries are super rich in antioxidants, which help to protect brain cells from that oxidative stress and also support our gut health and reduce inflammation. Now, in storing them, you want to keep them in the fridge, and it's actually ideal not to wash them until you're ready to eat them. So sometimes people will feel like that they want to just wash all their fruits and vegetables as soon as they get them home so that they're ready to eat whenever they want and need them. And that is a good approach, but not with berries, because adding that extra moisture to them can make them more susceptible to mold. So you ideally don't want to wash them until just before you're ready to eat them. The next one's some root vegetables. These you will tend to see more towards the end of a traditional farmer's market season because root vegetables are more prominent in the fall. Like the other thing that's really fascinating when you start to learn about the different harvest of each year, or excuse me, of each season. Spring is nature's new year. So that harvest is a lot of like lighter detoxifying vegetables, which that's where you'll see a lot of like the leafy greens come out. I think asparagus are rich during that time, maybe even cabbage. Like a lot of the detoxification foods are prominent in the spring, which makes sense because it's nature's way of helping us to detoxify after a long winter. And then summer harvest has more of the higher carbohydrate fruits. So you're going to see more things like berries in there, and melons and all of the things that, again, have the higher carbohydrate level because nature knows that we are more active in summertime. I mean, back in the day, that was when there was just more work to be done on the farms and things like that. So our food needed to reflect that. And then in the fall, that's when we're getting a lot of those root vegetables, which grow down into the earth and therefore can be viewed as very grounding. There are also vegetables that tend to be high in vitamin C and a lot of other immune supporting nutrients, and therefore supporting us during the fall? Cold and flu season. So that's one of the things that I start to like just geek out about when I think about seasonal eating, when you try to eat in sync with the harvest of that season, because nature is designed to support us. It's designed to support our body's ability to heal and thrive. So the root vegetables might not come until a little bit later in the season, but you're going to see the carrots, the beets, the sweet potatoes, the yams. I do eat them year round. Like I'm not saying that I don't eat out of season. season, but I can definitely notice a difference in the taste and the quality when a specific food is in season. So these are ones, again, kind of like similar to what I was talking about before with the cruciferous vegetables, like they feel a little bit weightier. Root vegetables take that to another level because like a sweet potato is going to have a little bit more density to it and going to be more filling for you, which is helpful if you are eliminating gluten and maybe even grains, because those foods tend to have a little bit more weight to them and are what help to allow you to feel a little bit more full or satiated, at least in the context that we know it to be. So they're great things to add in. If you're on level 3 of the Wahls protocol and you're not doing, and you're not doing something like carrots or beets or sweet potatoes, that's where the higher fat food comes in to help keep you feeling more satiated. But these root vegetables, you can roast them, you can blend them up, you can have them raw. I love getting some fresh cut carrots and then having them with guac. Beets, I'll be honest, I don't naturally gravitate towards beets, but whenever I have them and I put them in a salad, I wonder why I don't have them more, because they are tasty, but I just tend not to buy them. And then sweet potatoes, I 100% love. They're just the easiest thing. And if you're ever dealing with like fatigue or anything like that, you literally just put the sweet potato in the oven and roast it for, if you ask me, about an hour. I know that might be a little excessive, but I love it when it is so soft and it gets extra sweet there. I'll put a little bit of coconut oil on top, some cinnamon, and that in and of itself could be a solid snack or maybe even a meal, depending upon like if you wanted to have that for breakfast with maybe some sausage or something. I also love cutting up a sweet potato and making some sweet potato fries out of it. And if you're thinking about like seasoning them, you can do anything, like just traditional salt and pepper, but rosemary or thyme can also be good with root vegetables. So vary it up and kind of see which ones that you like. But that actually leads me to the next thing that I love from farmers markets, which are fresh herbs. I tend not to buy fresh herbs if I'm just buzzing through the grocery store because they're not a part of my normal list. But when I go to a farmer's market and I see all of the fresh herbs there, like you can't not smell them when you walk by, which, little fun fact, what you're smelling are the essential oils in those herbs. That's why if you ever go up to an herb plant and kind of like rub your fingers across it, that's why people do that. Like if you ever notice, they'll rub their hand against a peppermint leaf or a basil leaf, whatever it is, and then you smell your hand. It is the essential oils in those leaves that kind of popped open that give them their aroma. That's a fun little fact that I learned when I was studying essential oils, which, as you know, I absolutely love them. But again, don't overlook the herbs. These fresh herbs, basil, cilantro, parsley, mint, thyme, lavender, like there's so many things that can help to truly elevate your dishes in flavor, but also with some nutrients as well. So, you can buy them in a bundle that are already grown and just ready to use. And if so, you just treat them like flowers, like trim the stems, place them in a jar of water in the fridge. And some people tend to cover them in a plastic bag. Honestly, I would ask the I would ask the farmer who you're buying them from for some tips on storage as well. But you can also get like a little planter of them too. So they're pretty inexpensive. And if you can get one of those planters, then it's something that's lasting you perhaps through the whole season. So try them out, sprinkle them on top of your dishes and just see the vibrant flavor that comes from these tiny little herbs. And then lastly, the seasonal fruits. I mean, the peaches, the plums, the cherries, those are ones that you may not tend to buy from the local grocery store, but yet when they are in season at the farmer's market, you see them, right? Like that's the thing that is so powerful about the farmer's market. You walk through and you're seeing like, oh wow, like clearly peaches are in season right now because every stand has them, and strawberries are out because I can't spot them anywhere. And then maybe you're seeing the plums or the nectarines. Like there's so many different things, but if nothing else, it helps you to get more familiar with the seasons of each vegetable. And those seasonal fruits, again, you can add them, you can enjoy them as a snack, or you can have them on salads. You can sprinkle them with a little bit of cinnamon, or drizzle a little bit of honey over top just to enhance their natural sweetness. Or you can do, actually, one thing that you could do, if you do chia seed pudding, where you take some chia seeds and non-dairy milk, kind of mix that up and put it in the fridge to make that pudding consistency. Once that's done, you can kind of layer it to make like a little bit more of a parfait. So you could do the chia seed pudding, then a layer of peaches, the chia seed pudding, then a layer of, cherries, or like whatever it is, whatever your perfect combination is. But so those are kind of like the big categories that I really like to look when I'm at a farmer's market. I like to get the leafy greens, the cruciferous vegetables, the berries, the root vegetables, the fresh herbs, and then the seasonal fruits. Now let's talk about some tips for shopping. When you're shopping at a farmer's market, you want to go early because first come, first serve, my friend. You want to get the best selection, and that happens by going early. And just like with regular grocery stores now, you have to bring your own bag. So try to grab some reusable bags. Sometimes I'll actually bring a backpack, which seems silly when I'm going there because then I'm like just carrying around an empty backpack. But then it does help me so that I'm not carrying like a heavier bag on one arm versus another. I just put it in the backpack, and it's just easier for me. Again, from a shopping perspective, talk with the farmers. They can offer so many tips on how to store them, how to season them, how to cook them, what to serve them with. Like, their wisdom is incredible, and they're so generous with sharing those tips and ideas. And don't be afraid to try something new. Try one new thing each time you go. One new thing. And plan your meals around what is in season. So again, don't overload yourself. Don't buy like this massive overhaul and then you're coming home and you're not knowing what to do with any of them. Try to just buy what your regular routine is. And then again, maybe one new vegetable each week. And then if we're thinking about how we're pulling this all together for a day in the life of the Wahls protocol, you can start your day with a green smoothie that is loaded with those leafy greens and berries. And if you ever feel like you need to kind of have a little help with getting some veggies in your smoothie without it being like obvious, you can freeze cauliflower florets and put them in your smoothie. You don't notice the significant difference in flavor, but they add like a nice creamier texture, and you're getting all those detoxification benefits from it. But yeah, so start your day with green smoothie, then have a salad with some mixed greens, some cruciferous vegetables, and sprinkle some fresh herbs on those salads. Get those herbs in. Maybe for a snack, you're having some carrots and guac. And then maybe for dinner, you're roasting up some of the root veggies, and maybe you're having a side salad, or a side of some sauteed leafy greens. And then for dessert, maybe you're having some of the berries there. Or if you want a late night snack, maybe you're doing some kale chips. So lots of ways to incorporate this in. Let it be fun. Let it be light. Let it be easy. Have fun with this. Go to the farmer's market. Farmer's markets are a gold mine for anyone following the Wahls protocol, a gold mine of inspiration and a gold mine of healing vegetables. Choose the fresh local produce because it's not only supporting your health, it's supporting those local farmers and your community, but it is helping to make this more sustainable because that's what we are after. We want to have the health and the energy to live life on our terms as long as we can. All right, my friend. Thank you for tuning into this episode of my MS podcast. I hope you feel inspired to visit your local farmer's market and explore all the amazing foods there. And if you go, let me know how it goes. Send me an email or a DM. Or if you really want to brighten my day, tag me in a picture of your farmer's market experience. All right, my friends, take care. I will see you next week. Well, my friend, we've reached the end of this episode. Pick one lesson from today's discussion and put it into action now. It's time to reclaim your body, mind, and life from multiple sclerosis. And for more resources, events, and programs, head over to alenebrennan.com. See you on the next episode of my MS podcast.